Hi, Professor Robert Moranville here. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to make a video for this assignment. I really enjoy making videos. So let's get started. The first question was, what is your personal understanding of what it means to be old? What is your personal understanding of what it means to be disabled? Include examples in your answer. So first off, I work in healthcare. I've worked with countless old people. They make up the majority of the people that I work with. So I've had a lot of positive and negative interactions with old people. But what it means to me is that if they've lived a real contemplative life and or at least have learned from the mistakes that they've made throughout their life, older people can really be wise. One gentleman, for example, he was dying of cancer, and I made the comment, well, I can't wait until work is over because I'm gonna go do such and such. And he said, don't wish your life away. And he said that to me quite a few times, and it didn't really hit me until after work when I was thinking about it. He said, don't wish your life away, and because his life was towards the end, so that was a good example for me. So disability is something a little different, though, because it can come at any time in your life. Disability can be mental, physical, or emotional. I've met people that are so mentally, emotionally disabled that they can't hold a job. So it creates poverty and illness, and they end up in the hospital. I've also seen people physically disabled from something that you might not be able to tell. For example, they're not in a wheelchair, they're not in bed, but they're having such a hard time with their breathing that it really limits what they can do. Some people can shift their paradigm and overcome these disabilities by just changing their point of view. And some people can't. They can't. Sometimes these disabilities, it's not possible to maintain happiness for them. So the next question is, how might your understanding of aging and disability compare to someone of a different generation? How might it compare to someone of a different culture? Include examples. So older generations may see aging as a time to depend on family. I know that my grandmother did live with us for a little while. But new medicine and technology mean the elderly can be more independent. I know that my mother-in-law, for example, is extremely independent, and I don't think she would ever want to live with us. Now older generations may have lived with family, but now there are things like retirement communities where people can maintain their independence for basically indefinitely, as long as they have the right technology, the right connections with their doctor, and the right support system with family. So other cultures that consider age as being low status, the people in those cultures, when they make it to old age, they have lower levels of health. Cultures where old age is considered to be of high status, where they're respected and exalted when they make it to old age, those people have better feelings about being old, and that's associated with better health for them. Next question is, if someone in your family needed care due to aging and or disability, who would be responsible for providing that care and why? Would it be important that caregivers be family? What is your definition of family? Well, I'll start with the end, because I don't have a lot of family where I am. My definition of family is pretty loose. It definitely doesn't have to be blood. Definitely doesn't have to be cousins or anything like that. Family to me is people that you can depend on. And I have some friends in my life right now that have become like brothers to me, like sisters to me. And so I consider them family. I would do just as much for them as I would for my family. So next, I live very far from my mother, so I'm unable to take care of her. My other family is they're just not very dependable, and so they're not able to take care of her either. She has part-time caregivers that come to her house. Thankfully, the state that she lives in has a really great social safety net system, and she gets part-time care. She gets caregivers that come to see her twice a day. They make her meals. They make sure that she bathes. They just make sure that she's okay, basically, and they give her some social interaction every day, twice a day. It would be nice for me personally to be able to do this, but since I live so far away and I do work full time plus go to school, as you know, I'm really unable to do it. So the agency that performs these things for me and for my mom, they do a marvelous job, frankly, and I'm incredibly thankful for them. So part 2, describe some ways in which your life has been impacted by aging or disability, either your own or someone else's. So my life has been impacted by disability and aging. My mother's story when it comes to aging has been that she's gotten early onset Alzheimer's. That has been a source of anxiety and fear for me because it runs in my family, so I can see how she lives now, and I worry for that for myself and for my children and grandchildren. I'm thankful for the support that she gets, but it's tough. It's real tough for her. She is still very physically able, but she's unable to do things, very simple things. I first noticed when we were buying her a new stove, and she wasn't able to write a check, and that's when I thought, wow, there's really something wrong here. And so now, when I call her, most days she is coherent enough to hold a conversation about the weather and whatever's top of mind, but she doesn't really make a whole lot of sense most of the time. And so, in some sense, aging to me is a little scary. But it's nice to know that she's also taken good care of. So on the disability side, my dad, at a pretty young age, became disabled. He sustained some injuries from his service, and was able to work for a time in my early childhood, but due to his back injury and psychological problems, he just wasn't able to work anymore. And so what that meant for us is we grew up really poor. We didn't have a lot, and also, my dad couldn't really do a lot with us. My understanding of his disability really struck me when I got my license, and I got I was working, so I bought a Jeep, and we went for a ride on a dirt road because I wanted to show him what it would do, And we had to stop. We had to turn around and go back because just the bumpiness of the dirt road, his back just couldn't take it. So that's when I really realized in my adolescent mind that he was truly disabled. He truly couldn't deal with just the basic things in life. So moving on, the next one is identify at least 3 statistics that you feel provide important information on attitudes toward the aging or disabled in America and their care, and explain why you selected them. List the resources you use to obtain this information. Okay. So first off, the aged used to be a very small part of the population. And now they're a growing part. You know, even the Medicare and Social Security programs were the budgeting for it was based off of a large group of young people paying for a small group of older people because people died young. The impact of this, the impact of people living longer and being a larger population it means that their attitudes and voices have a higher impact on society. They have a higher impact on voting. They have a higher impact on what they want for the rest of society. And not only that, as they get older, since the group is larger, their need may represent a larger strain on society. And since they still have a voice, they can vote, and their representatives will support their want for more help in the system. Next, people are working much later in life. And so the attitude could be that maybe they're not able to do as much as young people. So why are they still in the workforce? My personal feeling is that I currently work with a therapist that's 63 years old, and she still keeps up with us and is still an excellent therapist. But it does limit others' ability to advance, so this might cause some frustration. And frankly, it could have some impact on wage growth as the boomers age, especially if they continue to work. So next, just kind of circling back, another statistic shows that poor attitude in youth towards the aged and towards the future of being old is correlated with poor health when you actually get old. And poor attitude while you're in old age actually correlates with poor health. And so the old adage goes, you're only as old as you feel. So last one, based on what you have learned so far in this course, explain how you feel we as a society can do better at addressing the social and healthcare needs of the aging population. So the older population is going to become increasingly diverse. We have more and more different ethnic variety coming into this country, and those people are going to get older, and they're going to require care, and they're going to require cultural competence in their care. So that need for cultural competence is going to continue to rise. Because just like young people seeking out health care in our healthcare system, if they feel that they're disrespected or slighted or their needs are not met culturally, they're not going to seek out medical care, and they're going to get sicker. And so instead of just going to their doctor for a routine blood glucose check, they're going to show up in the emergency room with blood sugars that are completely out of control and might even need to be hospitalized, for example. Next, we need to continue to give the elderly purpose and engagement so they maintain a positive attitude in age, because that positive attitude is correlated with good health. If we neglect and isolate, they'll become a burden on society. And so they'll become a burden on society. That's a selfish thing to say, but it's true. If we don't take care of them, if we don't treat them like human beings, they'll get sicker and they'll get more depressed. They won't take care of themselves. And they'll be a burden on society. I see it all the time in pulmonary. I run a pulmonary rehab, and people come in and they have hardly any social interaction, and they're disabled from their breathing. They're elderly, and I do a test called a PHQ-9 test, which is a loose evaluation of someone's mental health. And they come to me and they come to the group and they learn about their breathing, they learn how to exercise, they have fellowship with other people. And lo and behold, after 18 sessions, which is about 9 weeks, their PHQ-9 scores improve immensely because of that social interaction, that social engagement. And so going forward, especially since the population of elderly people is going to keep growing, we need to figure out a way to engage people socially, even in age, even in disability, or else they will be a burden on our system. So that's all I have. Really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I enjoy making these videos. And have a great day.